I now invite Mr. Hanna to come to the stand, please.
Thank you, Chair. I represent St Mark's Church today as the Church Secretary and a parishioner for over 40 years of that church. We were somewhat surprised by the petition presented to Council, which we were not notified of until it appeared on Bayside Council's website early this week. The petition in its current form raises questions as to its credibility, as well as its claim to represent all the neighbours of the church. The petition against the church, which was signed between 22 September and 28 September this year, makes a number of erroneous claims which seems like a desperate attempt from certain individuals to smear the reputation of the church and gain the attention of Council by expressing claims which are unsubstantiated and exaggerated at best. Let me state at the outset, Chair, the church has not used or utilised the properties referred to since mid-August of this year. It has essentially been vacant for over 2 months now. This was pursuant to consultation with Council officers and Ms Wallace, and a commitment by the church to lodge a development application or planning proposal as soon as possible. The church's town planner has already communicated this to the General Manager, and the process is well underway as per our commitment to the Council. Chair, before this petition is formally tabled and acknowledged in Council, I request that a member of Council go through the unredacted version of the petition and formally identify which signatories are in fact neighbours of the church and can actually lay claim to be potentially impacted by the site in question. Technically, the church has about 4 or 5 immediate neighbours who can potentially claim a direct impact on their properties from alleged activities. How did the organiser of this petition manage to secure nearly 200 signatures when it is clear there cannot logically be 200 neighbours impacted by any of the church activities noted in the petition? The church borders Arncliffe Park on Wollongong Road and Brough Avenue with only just a few residents. An analysis of the handwriting on the petition suggests that 1 or 2 signatories seem to be completing the petition on behalf of multiple residents, whether with their consent or not. This needs to be further investigated by Council before tabling it today. Chair, we call on a number of neighbours to declare and disclose to Council and their fellow neighbours that they are in fact seeking a significant financial advantage for themselves by offering their properties to the church for sale at significantly inflated prices and threatening to attack the church if it doesn't accept. This is important and must be disclosed in the interest of full disclosure and transparency in front of this Council. If the organiser of this petition has previously requested exorbitant sums for their small blocks, then the credibility and integrity of this petition needs to be called into question. I need to make it clear, Chair, that previously the properties referred to have only ever been used for a maximum of 3 hours on a Sunday morning. Any other time of the week, day or night, the area is under lock and key. To put it simply, it's dead quiet. Bayside Council rangers who have visited the church have confirmed the same. I invite councillors to drive past the church Monday to Saturday, day or night, and inspect for themselves the use of the properties. For 6.75 days a week, the properties referred to by the residents as, quote, affecting their health, safety, well-being and quality of life, close quote, are empty and quiet, much like a cemetery. There is no noise or activities, no lights, essentially no one present. There is no noise or activities, no lights, and essentially no one present. Most services are on a Saturday or Sunday and conclude by 1 p.m. Other than special feasts, which neighbours are notified of in advance, that pretty much is it. So on what basis are the residents suggesting that a church which is essentially predominantly vacant and clean for 90% of the week, causing them such concern and angst? Currently, with the open space provided, all immediate neighbours have unfettered solar access and cross-ventilation into their yards and dwellings. They have the benefit, Chair, of clean open space adjacent to their dwellings and complete silence for 90% of the week. What more can a resident wish for? There is more noise, light and traffic being generated and emitted by the new synthetic soccer field on Wollongong Road than by our modest leisure park as referred to in the petition. Prior to the church closing the site in question, the synthetic turf areas were used predominantly to allow social distancing as part of the COVID-19 response plan requested by the New South Wales Department of Health. The additional space did not attract additional congregants, it simply accommodated existing congregants over a wide area. The claim in the petition, therefore, that the use of the site had created disturbance, property damage and untold stress is unfounded and simply illogical based on the facts. The claim that, quote, the church has continued to use the property, unquote, even after meeting with council was also simply untrue. As stated earlier, the place has been under lock and key since August. I'm happy to provide council with a copy of the CCTV footage of the site for the past 2 months for council to review at their leisure. You won't find much happening at all.
Madam Mayor, I'll move an extension.
Thank you.
Second. Second.
Thank you.
Please
Thank you.
continue.
Claims in the petition that there are health concerns, quote, safety issues, quote, offensive language, quote, and damage to properties, quote, is vague, unsubstantiated, and we submit absolute nonsense. We deny the claims categorically. The petition also alleges that there have been years, quote, years of direct failed communication with the church, unquote. Every neighbour of the church, Chair, has the mobile phone number of our clergies. When our clergy receive text messages or calls from neighbours, whatever the time, they respond and deal with the issue immediately. This has been the case for decades, which is why we were surprised that the neighbours met directly with councillors without first raising these issues with the church. There is an open line to the church. We recently also established a mobile phone hotline which has been issued to residents and manned by a member of the church. Whatever limited issues are raised are addressed. The church also has its own scout group which have been active for decades within the church and the community. They are visible and present every Sunday and assist where required. The church, as previously committed to council, also utilises the Arncliffe train station car park on Sundays and encourages parishioners to park there and utilise the church shuttle bus to take them to the church. This service is there to alleviate any local traffic concerns and has been very successful in doing so. This has been in place for decades. Before any major feasts, neighbours are also notified via a letterbox drop so as to make them aware of the church services. During the COVID-19 lockdown, the church also communicated with and served and provided for the needs of some of the neighbouring residents who were struggling. The church is always conscious of its immediate neighbours and the need to respect them. The church has always been agreeable to council directions and advice. The relationship between the church and council and the church and neighbours is a partnership of great importance to the church. It always has been and always will be. Coincidentally, last week I had the privilege of being invited to and attending at New South Wales Parliament House the valedictory speech of the Honourable Shalkat Soleimani, himself a proud former Rockdale Council councillor and a friend of the church, who recorded in his speech in Parliament a personal highlight of welcoming the late His Holiness Pope Shenouda III to Rockdale Council on His Holiness's last visit. Our history here in the council runs deep. One thing I ask on behalf of the church, finally, one thing I ask on behalf of the church, that there be more respectful dialogue from council officers to the church. Many of our emails and communications of recent have not been responded to. Respect dictates this should not be the case. Chair, I thank you for your time today, for the time to present to council, and for allowing me to address the council chambers on behalf of St Mark's Coptic Orthodox Church. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanna.